A pair of division rivals gained 4 spots this week, while another team dropped 6. Find out what teams those are on this week's Power Rankings. Coming in last place this week, the Carolina Panthers moved down a spot. They have moved down 13 spots since the beginning of the season, and they have moved to the sole 0-5 team after a loss to the Detroit Lions. I definitely overestimated the Panthers this season. The offense isn't developing as I thought it would, and the defense isn't developing as I thought it would. I can go on and on about the coaching of this team, especially with Frank Reich and how he's disappointing this season, but even talent-wise, this roster's near the bottom of the league. This week's 31st ranked squad is the Denver Broncos. They fell 1 spot from last week and 11 spots from the beginning of the year. They took a 31-21 loss to the New York Jets. It's time for a rebuild in Denver. The coaching staff is not great, the offense isn't too good but it's improved, and the defense, yeah, it sucks. It's not a quarterback problem in Denver, it's an everything problem in Denver, but that may start with getting Caleb Williams in the draft. Moving up a spot from last week, yet down a spot from my preseason rankings, the Chicago Bears find their place in this week's Power Rankings. Last week, they dominated the Washington Commanders 40-20. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's sold on the Chicago Bears yet, but I do have a Justin Fields film study coming out this Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time. They dominated the Commanders in Week 5, one of the NFL's most polarizing teams. They could have just caught them on an off day. The future is promising in Chicago. The biggest fall off to start the season comes to a temporary halt with the New York Giants. They stay even from last week and fall 21 spots from my preseason rankings. They took another beatdown, this time from the Miami Dolphins. The Giants are in big trouble. It's not just a roster problem anymore. The coaching staff is starting to fall off a bit. I loved Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka coming into the season, but some of these offensive play calls, along with some questionable decision making on the head coaching side of things, this team is not good anymore. In the 28th spot, the Washington Commanders fall only 1 spot despite their big loss. This fall returns them to their original spot in my power rankings. As I said earlier, this team is extremely polarizing. They got demolished by the Bills, went into overtime with the Eagles, and then got demolished by the Bears? They have talent, especially on defense, but they just haven't shown it yet. Maybe they can get back on track and defeat the Atlanta Falcons in Week 6. The Arizona Cardinals come in 27th this week, down 2 from last week, yet up 5 from the preseason. The Cardinals took a 2-score loss at home to the Cincinnati Bengals. Arizona has the talent. I just know they do. The talent just isn't showing yet, but they do have a couple of underrated studs. A few of them showed out on Sunday. Dante Stills, Emery Demercado, Rondale Moore, they all did their thing. Now, this team needs to come all together if they want to start winning some games. Staying in spot number 26, I have the Las Vegas Raiders, who returned back to 1 spot below their original preseason ranking. They took a Monday Night Football win over the Green Bay Packers. Monday reiterates my point that Allegiant Stadium is one of the hardest stadiums to play in as a visiting team. The Raiders now move to 2-3, but I don't see them as a consistent threat in this league. Offense and defense both have concerns, but man, do they somehow play so well at home. Continuing to move up, I have the Indianapolis Colts. They are now up 5 spots from the preseason and 2 spots from last week. The Colts beat the Tennessee Titans without their starting quarterback. This team can be competitive. The defense is starting to make strides. Gardner Minshew is not a backup caliber player. If this team stays competing, they will be an AFC South contender. Actually, that's a little bit of a stretch. The Tennessee Titans end up in 24th this week, down 2 spots from last week and down 2 spots from the preseason. I'm interested to see where Tennessee goes from here. As I said in my last power rankings, the Titans play well when Derrick Henry plays well. Derrick Henry rushes 13 times for 43 yards and they do not play well. This trend is going to continue unless the Titans can find a way to step up, which may start with finding a viable QB option. New England falls 6 spots to number 23 this week, which is also down 6 spots from their preseason ranking. The Patriots took their 2nd straight huge loss last week, this time to the New Orleans Saints. What happened to this Patriots team? I know they lost a couple key defensive players for the season, but they absolutely collapsed. They can't free fall too much, but this defense has fallen off and per expected, Mac Jones is not a starting QB option. Talks for them to possibly get Caleb Williams should start to increase. The Los Angeles Rams are 22nd on this week's power rankings, moving down a spot from last week, yet moving up 9 from my preseason rankings. They took a loss at home to the Philly Eagles in Week 5. The Rams are starting to come down to earth, as their defense played fine but their offense struggled. Remember, this is the same Philly team that allowed 31 to the Washington Commanders. Even then, they're still much higher than they were ranked in my preseason rankings, sitting just outside the top 20. Minnesota comes in 21st on this week's power rankings. That's a 1-spot decrease from last week and a 5-spot decrease from my preseason rankings. In Week 5, they once again fell short in a 1-score game, this time to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Vikings are a good team, honestly. I would put them in the mid-pack if they were 2-3. Instead, they fall to 1-4 after last week, and they continue to force me to bring them down. They aren't easily the best 1-4 team in the league, but they are the best 1-4 team in the league. The Saints locked themselves into 20th place this week, moving up 4 spots from my last week rankings and up 1 spot from my preseason rankings. The entire NFC South is polarizing, just book it already. This Saints team has very low lows and some very high highs. I can't trust them for that reason. If they win the NFC South and make the playoffs, good for them, but I won't believe in them when that time comes around. Coming in 19th, the Atlanta Falcons make their appearance. This is up 4 from last week and up 8 from my preseason rankings. The Falcons defeated the Houston Texans 21-19 on Sunday. Teams like Atlanta make me want to stop doing this series. They were 18th in my Week 4 power rankings, 23rd last week, and now they're 19th this week. If they lost last week, they probably still would move up. They competed with the Houston Texans, the defense looked viable again, and the offense plays very good at home. With an easy schedule, they could make the playoffs, but I don't think they're division frontrunners just yet. Coming in 18th this week, the Houston Texans stay put from their Week 5 ranking. This is also 6 spots up from my preseason ranking. Houston, we don't have a problem. They've competed in every game since Week 3, and they've finally found a franchise quarterback. If CJ Stroud keeps this play up, they have a genuine shot at the AFC South. I don't think that will happen, but it's possible. At number 17, the Tampa Bay Bucks make an appearance. This is a 2-spot increase from last week and a 9-spot increase from my preseason rankings. Tampa Bay is the first team coming off a bye week to appear on this list. The Bucks are my NFC South favorites for a couple of reasons, but coming off a bye week with other divisional opponents having very successful weeks, that gap is getting closer and closer. But they move up 2 spots without playing because of Houston's loss and New England shitting the bed again. But they move up 2 spots because of Houston's loss and because of New England not playing well again. The Green Bay Packers moved down 1 spot to 16th after their 2nd straight loss. This 16th slot is an 8-spot upgrade from my preseason rankings. I'm concerned about Jordan Love. I already made a video about him though, so go ahead and check that out. But this team is not playing like a playoff team anymore, so I do have questions and concerns. Coming in 15th this week, the New York Jets moved down 1 spot from last week and have moved down an uncontrollable 6 spots from the preseason. The Jets almost lost to the Denver Broncos this week, which is why they fell down. The offense still scares me with Zach Wilson at quarterback, and especially in Week 5, they couldn't get it done in the red zone. And I will continue to say this. They will be competitive until their defense gives out. Just look at what happened to New England. In 14th place, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a 2-spot increase from last week and a 10-spot decrease from my preseason rankings. Cincinnati finally found their groove on offense after beating the Arizona Cardinals 34-20. Are there still concerns surrounding this offense because they dropped 34 on Arizona's secondary? 34 points is impressive, but yeah, there are concerns. Nonetheless, this was a statement win from Cincinnati. In the 13th slot, the Pittsburgh Steelers stay even from their last week rankings. They beat the Ravens 17-10 in an upset win. Pittsburgh has kept my trust all season. Pittsburgh has honestly kept my trust all season despite the couple concerning wins. Their defense is very talented, and yeah, their offense has its concerns, but it can play well at its full potential. The defense gives them enough room to stay in 13th this week. Coming off of a bye week, the Seattle Seahawks get caught in the crossfire and fall a spot to number 12. Despite that, they still have increased one spot since the beginning of the year. There's not much to say here, but Jacksonville played well, which makes Seattle fall a spot. Seattle is still very much a playoff team, and now they'll look to capitalize off their bye week. Speaking of Jacksonville, they sit in 11th, moving up one spot and staying put from my preseason rankings. They beat the Buffalo Bills in London on Sunday. Jacksonville finally had their big breakout game, with the offense doing their thing for the second week in a row, and the defense is clicking, especially in the run. They were an underdog Super Bowl contender going into the year, and they're finally starting to look like it. I just need to see more out of them. The third bye week team of last week stays in 10th place. The Cleveland Browns show up here, also moving up 8 spots for my preseason ranking. Fun fact, the Cleveland Browns are the only bye week team to stay put from where they were last week, which out of context makes no sense. But Cleveland is sitting at 2-2 with a very concerning loss, but a couple impressive wins as well. I'm not counting Cleveland out. And with no teams dropping or rising in front or behind them, they remain in the top 10. The Baltimore Ravens are 9th in this week's power rankings, down 1 from last week and down 6 from their high 3rd place preseason ranking. Baltimore is polarizing every single year. They beat the good teams and then lose to the bad teams, and there's one puzzle piece missing. They need the consistency out of the entire roster. In their 2 losses, Lamar Jackson may have been the reason for their Indy loss, but the pass catchers were the reason for the Pittsburgh loss. Somehow that switched the entire result of the game, and Lamar Jackson looked so good last week. The best team coming off of a bye is the Los Angeles Chargers, moving up 1 spot to number 8 and moving up 4 spots from the beginning of the season. Again, not much to say about a team who was on a bye week, but they do move up 1 spot due to Baltimore's loss. In the 7th slot, I have the Dallas Cowboys, moving up 3 spots from the previous week and moving up 3 spots for my preseason rankings. The Cowboys got demolished by the 49ers 42-10. Another polarizing team as of recent, as they were 7th in week 4, 4th in week 5, and back to 7th for week 6. Dallas is a great team, don't get me wrong, but it's the same story every year where they can't win big games. Week 5 was a testament to that, and yet again, I'm concerned for their playoff success. The Detroit Lions find their way back into the top 6, moving up 1 spot from last week and moving up 8 from my preseason ranking. Hello Detroit, welcome back to the top 6. You guys have gone up, then down, and now back up. Their offense is so damn good, statistically in the top 5, and their defense is starting to catch up as well. Dan Campbell is one of the NFL's best coaches and roster builders, and if he can find a way to get 12 wins with this Lions team, he should be coach of the year. Moving into the top 5, staying put from their week 5 power rankings, the Miami Dolphins fall here. That is still 1 spot higher for my preseason ranking. The Dolphins do not pass the Bills this week, despite the Bills having a worse record and the Bills losing in week 5, but I have concerns about Miami's offense. Isn't that weird? Too many turnovers as of late, and Tua does not look as good as we would have thought at the beginning of the year. But this team can be a run-first team and still play so well. Down 2 spots from last week, the Buffalo Bills come in 4th in my Week 6 power rankings. That is still 3 spots up from my preseason ranking on them. The Bills were 2nd last week, and for some reason, I regret it. They didn't look good on offense, and the defense did not play as good as they normally do. It makes me think that maybe if this defense doesn't play well, the team won't play well, and it's game over. But I still trust this team to make plays. They are still my AFC East projected winners. Here comes the Philadelphia Eagles, moving back up 3 spots to number 3, but it's still 1 spot lower from their preseason ranking. A dominant defensive win last week, along with the fact that they're still undefeated, is giving me hope for this team. Sure, some of their wins have been a little sloppy, but allowing 14 points to a Matthew Stafford-led offense is pretty impressive. Moving back up to the number 2 spot, the Kansas City Chiefs moved from 3 to 2. They were my number 1 team going into the year, and they are now 4-1 after their Week 5 win. Kansas City is still a phenomenal team. It's just the number 1 team on my power rankings has continued to impress me. The Chiefs are actually developing a defense around Mahomes, but at the same time, Mahomes is having a down year. And that's saying something, given that Mahomes is still playing like a top 5 quarterback. To end the list, remaining at number 1 yet again, I have the San Francisco 49ers, who began the season in 5th. A dominating win over the Dallas Cowboys should stay enough. They have given me no reason to dethrone them from number 1, which they have had since week 2. This team is clear-cut my Super Bowl favorites at the moment. Hell, they could go undefeated if they keep this up. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I release a power rankings video every week and a film study, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. Once again, I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. I'll see you guys in the next video.